What is this? Why have you built that? Who hurt you before? Ah, it's my base. Welcome to the Ultimate Factorio Guide. In this video, I will show you everything what you need to know about the best base design in the Factorio, called the main BUS. Your view of the spaghetti will change by 360 degrees and from carbonara to bolognese after you watch this tutorial. This video is one of my ultimate Factorio tutorials which explains you everything in Factorio. What's more, it's divided into chapters, so you can easily find any information you are looking for. Without any further ado, just jump to my ship and let's on. Let's start with the question, what is the main BUS in Factorio? Main BUS is the name of those belts in the middle of your base. They can go from left, right, top, bottom or diagonal. It doesn't matter, just place them whenever you have a space for it. The main idea of this design is to have a main supply lane in your base, and whenever you want to craft something, like for example red science, you simply borrow copper and iron from the main BUS, and you are free to build the production. This design makes expanding way easier, because you are not getting lost in your own spaghetti. Like, try to add something to this base. Impossible. But what about this? Very easy to do anything. Where to build a main BUS? Construction of the main BUS seems very complicated in the beginning, and it might look like an overkill with all those belts and wasted space. But if you spend some time in the beginning to design a nice BUS, you will definitely thank yourself later. Like I mentioned before, main BUS require a lot of space, so when you are looking for a spot for it, it's good to find a place without cliffs, trees and water, because otherwise construction of the main BUS will be way harder than it needs to be. Main BUS can be separated into three core elements, which is a supply area, main belts and crafting area. First element is a supply area. Like you can guess, it's used to provide main BUS with basic resources. In the early game, it will be only smelting columns, which will produce iron, copper and steel. By the way, the whole video about smelting, which you have to see, is in the description. But come back to the supply. In the mid game and late game, you will use a different way of supply. Trains are one of the most important elements in the Factorio, so leaving enough space in your supply area to switch from a small starting ores to supply trains with ores would be nice. At some point, we also change your smelting columns into trains with already smelted plates to take advantage of productivity modules in the electric furnaces. You can also supply your main BUS with bots or bots and trains, but it will take a lot of electricity and computing power, so I recommend just trains and belts, because everything here will be in constant use. Second and the most important element of the main BUS is a main belt. This element itself is also often called a main BUS. It follows a simple structure, 4 belts with supplies and empty distance of 2 tiles repeated a multiple times. This is the most popular design, because yellow underground belts have a distance of 4 tiles. So thanks to 4 tiles of belts and 2 tiles of spacing, you can easily use splitters and undergrounds to move necessary resources to crafting areas. You can also build a main BUS using red belts and 6 tiles of belts with 2 tiles of spacing, or blue belts with 8 tiles of belts. But design with yellow belts is the best, because you can build it from a very beginning, unlike red and blue solution. And when you start consuming more resources than a throughput of yellow belt, you can always upgrade it and simply keep 4 belts 2 spacing design forever. Third element of the main BUS is the crafting area. It is a line of assemblers built perpendicular to the main belt instead of your usual spaghetti. Thanks to the main BUS, you can quickly supply it with all the resources and start crafting right away. For example, if you want to make a production of engine units, you have to take steel and iron from the main BUS, build a production of pipes plus gears and use it to craft a ton of engine units which will be used later in different recipes. If a product is often used in other recipes, like all kind of circuits, you should put output back to the main belt to use it later in different crafting areas. You should build assemblers a few tiles away from the main BUS, because it will be easier for you to mix different inputs from the main BUS. If it's your first time with the main BUS, I'm recommending you to build crafting area only on one side of the main BUS, because this way you can add more belts to the BUS without any need to rebuild your assemblers. If you know what you are doing, then building on both sides of the BUS will be smarter and more efficient. Now you know what is the main BUS and how to build it, but you are still not sure what to put on the belts? 21.4% of you probably wants to put guns and oil on the main bus, but it's not the way to go. Long story short, you should put only resources that are commonly used in different recipes, like green circuits, and those which take less space than their ingredients. So copper wires shouldn't go to the main bus. You can of course customize main bus up to your needs, but something what is the must have on the main bus is at least 4 lines of copper, 4 lines of iron, 1 line of steel and 2 lines of green circuits, called electronic circuits. That was the bare minimum for the main bus. My recommendation would be to add few more belts, like 1 line of sulfur and 2 lines of plastic, so it will be easier to build a nice looking refinery and outsource the outputs. 1 line for advanced circuits and 1 line of processing units would be also useful, because they take a lot of space and time to make, and they are commonly used. From a very basic materials, 1 line of coal and 1 line of mixed stone and stone bricks. Thanks to those materials, you will be able to craft all the science in the game without building a lot of spaghetti around. Like I said, those are my recommendation, and you can put other resources like iron gears or batteries on the bus. Everything is up to your preference. So if it's your first time with the main bus, just place few more empty belts and you might find a use for them later. Like I'll find use for those green rockets later. Now let's talk how to take items from the main bus and how to balance everything, because otherwise you'll end up with a situation when some belts are dry and some are not. If you want to craft something, you simply have to place splitter and use enough underground belts to deliver a resource. Easy, right? Right? However, after some time you will end up with a situation like this. No. To prevent it, we have to balance the main bus. There are 2 ways of balancing the main bus. I'm not saying that one solution is better or worse, but we'll start with the worst solution. When you left click on a splitter, you can set up a priority. So if you place a few splitters and set a priority, by the way, shift right click to copy and left click to paste the priority. If you do it, you can force all resources to go to specific crafters. I myself hate this approach, because it gives all the resources to first assemblers, and everything else starves like during a communism. The better way is to just balance the bus with belt balancers. Here is how to build it. When you build those balancers, from time to time they will mix all the items and let all the machines work. Of course, if you don't have enough resources, some machines at the end of the main bus will work extremely slow, but they will at least work. Like you can see, no matter what you do, assemblers in the beginning of your bus will get more materials. So any important crafters like your mole should be placed somewhere in the beginning of the bus. We have been talking a lot about items in the main bus, but what about some liquids like lube? If you want to build a wet main bus, you can build it next to your normal one without any problems. However, construction is a bit different. Something like this is not the best idea. And yeah, we're gonna nuke it to not look at this anymore. To build a fluid main bus, you just have to use underground pipes, so liquids will have a higher pressure and it will be easier to move around. Fluids are mostly used in the refinery, so you basically should keep all of them in one place. However, there are still some recipes which you can build outside your refinery that require water, sulfuric acid or lube. Let's start from liquids you don't want to put on your main bus. Those liquids are rough crude oil, petroleum gas, light oil and heavy oil. All of those oils should belong to the refinery area, because there is no use for them outside it. I mean, you can put some pipes for petroleum oil and craft plastic somewhere else, but I myself prefer to craft plastic in my refinery area. When it comes to fluids you can add to your main bus, you have sulfuric acid, which is used to craft blue circuits and batteries. What's more, it's necessary to mine uranium, so it might be handy at some point to quickly connect some mining outpost. This is why I can recommend having sulfuric acid on your fluids main bus. Lubricant is used to make blue belts, splitters, undergrounds and electric engines, so you can also put it on the bus. The 7th liquid is water and it's used only to craft concrete. From my experience, it was always easier to just find the closest lake and get water from it, instead of playing with the bus. But if you play on the settings with very little water, it might make sense to put it on the bus. Otherwise, don't do it. There is another fluid, steam. what can I say? Steam is a game platform and not a fluid to have on your bus. So no, do not put Steam on your bus. Why am I even explaining this? Because of this. So, long story short about liquids in the main bus. I myself not a big fan of it and prefer to go the spaghetti way by connecting all the liquids around. But if you want to have everything nicely built with a main bus, then put only petroleum oil, lubricant and sulfuric acid, because it's all what you need. When it comes to overall main buses, it's also worth to mention BUS Factorio and how to build bus if you play something beside vanilla, like the expansion. So everything of course depends on what mods you are using, and since there is a lot of them, I can't give you an answer to just your situation, but I can explain what you should look for when deciding what to put on the main bus. You want to put on the main bus only items that are used in a multiple recipes and are very common, like if you play a space exploration, small electric motors are a very good example, because you are using them in a lot of recipes and they aren't too easy to make. Something that you want to avoid on your bus is anything which is used only in a few recipes. It's just not worth it to waste space for them on the main bus. The same mechanic is also applied to liquids. So first look what you can craft with them and then decide if you want to have them on your main bus. Supplying a main bus is hard and good smelters are even harder to build. This is why you have to watch this video which will explain you everything about smelting. Go watch it now or I will nuke this bus.